The academy was usually a place of calm and order, filled with alien cadets learning control, discipline, and strength. But that calm shattered in an instant when the predator broke free. A deafening alarm rang through the halls, flashing red lights bouncing off the metallic walls. Students screamed and scrambled, trying to find safety. Security drones activated automatically, whirring as they scanned for the rogue creature. The predator moved with a terrifying mix of speed and precision. Its massive limbs carried it over obstacles and down corridors with ease. Its eyes glowed a fierce amber, scanning for any threat or opportunity. The air was thick with fear, but the predator seemed focused, almost calculating in its movements. It was not blind rage. It had a purpose, instinct guiding it, something primal that the academy had not been able to fully contain. In the chaos, Lyra, a human cadet, stayed calm. She crouched behind a metal pillar, observing carefully. Others screamed and waved their weapons, but she noticed something important. The predator's movements were not random. It avoided certain paths, hesitated at corners, and reacted to sounds rather than immediately attacking everything in sight. Lyra understood that the creature was intelligent, not mindless. This realization kept her from panicking. As the predator passed, knocking over a stack of training equipment, Lyra saw its body tense, muscles rippling beneath its scaled skin. It paused near a control console, sniffing the air. The smell of humans mixed with the faint scent of its offspring. The predator's ears flicked back as it detected the faint vibrations of movement from its young hidden deeper in the academy. Its glowing eyes narrowed and a low growl rumbled from its chest. Lyra's heart raced, but she stayed perfectly still, careful not to make sudden movements. Security personnel attempted to block its path. They activated energy barriers and raised plasma rifles. But the predator was too fast and too strong. It lunged, breaking through barriers as if they were paper. The alarms blared even louder, warning the entire academy. Students ducked under tables or bolted down side corridors, trying to escape the predator's path. The creature's roar echoed through the halls, a deep, resonant sound that sent shivers down everyone's spine. Lyra realized that any direct confrontation would be futile. The predator was too powerful, too fast, and too intelligent. She needed a different approach. Instead of running or hiding, she started observing its behavior, noticing subtle shifts in its stance and gaze. It was following an invisible line, a path that led it toward a specific area of the academy. Lyra followed at a distance, careful to remain unseen. She understood instinctively that the predator was not attacking out of malice. It was searching, driven by something deeper than aggression. As it moved, the predator passed classrooms and training arenas, scattering students and knocking over equipment. But it never lost focus. Its attention flicked constantly to faint sounds, the hum of machinery, the whispers of fleeing cadets, and most importantly, the subtle signs of its young somewhere ahead. Lyra's mind raced as she tried to predict its next move. She realized that she could use her understanding of its instincts to keep it from harming anyone while also staying out of its immediate path. At one point, the predator reached a junction where multiple corridors branched off. It paused, sniffing the air, tail flicking in irritation. Lyra stayed hidden behind a pillar, watching. She noticed its ears swivel in a particular direction, eyes narrowing at a faint sound. Without hesitation, it turned and bolted down a long corridor, moving with terrifying grace and speed. Students ran, diving for cover, but Lyra stayed calm, carefully keeping a distance. She felt a mixture of fear and awe. The predator was magnificent and dangerous, but also intelligent. The chase continued through the academy, the predator's roar echoing like a rolling thunderclap. It knocked over more obstacles, avoided traps, and demonstrated uncanny precision as it navigated. Lyra's observations were clear. If she stayed calm and followed without provoking it, she could remain safe. Unlike others who panicked, she relied on observation, patience, and careful timing. Finally, the predator reached a massive observation window overlooking a training arena. It stopped abruptly, muscles tense, and its glowing eyes scanned the area below. Lyra followed at a safe distance, keeping her eyes on its every movement. The predator's focus was clear. It had found its young. Its posture shifted from aggression to alertness, and it growled softly, a sound that seemed both warning and recognition. For the first time since its escape, the predator did not move forward. It froze, scanning the arena below, its young playing calmly under supervision. Lyra realized then that the situation had changed. The predator's rage was tempered by concern for its offspring. It no longer seemed like a mindless threat. Instead, it was a creature balancing instinct with emotion. Lyra crouched behind a pillar, her breathing steady. She understood that the next moments would be crucial. The predator had escaped, created chaos, and now confronted a choice: continue its aggression or respond to something stronger than instinct, trust and recognition. She had observed enough to know that force would not stop it, but patience and understanding might. The predator's eyes lingered on the human figures in the arena, particularly on the cadet closest to its young. It tilted its massive head, nostrils flaring as if evaluating the situation. Lyra remained calm, motionless, letting the predator decide its next move. Around them, the academy was silent, all fear momentarily suspended. The predator had escaped, but for now, it had paused, frozen by something unexpected. A moment that hinted at the extraordinary bond that could exist between species. The first part ends with the predator standing at the window, massive and imposing, while Lyra observes from a safe distance. The academy is tense but still, and everyone realizes that the chaos of the escape is only the beginning. What happens next will depend not on weapons or barriers, but on understanding, calm and trust, the uniquely human tools that might turn terror into connection. The predator froze at the observation window, massive body tense, claws scraping lightly against the floor. Its glowing amber eyes widened as they fixed on the scene below. There, in the training arena, its young were playing under the careful supervision of Lyra. The small alien cubs tumbled over one another, chasing each other in playful arcs, oblivious to the chaos that had erupted moments ago. For the predator, time seemed to slow. Its jaw hung slightly open, nostrils flaring as it sniffed the air. The sounds of laughter, shouts, and the soft hum of the arena filled the space between the predator and the ground below. The creature had escaped with fury in its heart, seeking freedom and release. But now, confronted by the sight of its offspring, all aggression evaporated, replaced by a strange mixture of confusion, curiosity, and instinctual care. Lyra, kneeling beside the cubs, noticed the predator at the window. She did not panic. Years of training had taught her to read body language, both alien and human. She remained calm, motioning gently with her hands to indicate peace. Her heart raced, but she knew that any sudden movement could provoke a reaction. Slowly, deliberately, she allowed the cubs to play freely while keeping an eye on the predator. Her calm presence seemed to communicate to the creature that she meant no harm. The predator's muscles shifted, tail twitching slightly as it adjusted its stance. It growled low in its throat, a sound of warning but not of attack. Its eyes darted between the cubs and the human. Lyra sensed that the predator was struggling with conflicting instincts: protect the young and yet confront the human who dared approach. She remained completely still, speaking softly in a language of gestures the predator might understand. Subtle, respectful, non-threatening. From across the arena, cadets and staff watched silently, wide-eyed. No one dared to approach. They had trained for emergencies, learned protocols for containment breaches, but this was different. The predator was not acting as a typical threat. Its pause, its hesitation showed intelligence and awareness. Lyra understood it perfectly. This was not a simple animal. This was a sentient being weighing its options carefully. One of the cubs wandered closer to Lyra, sniffing her hands and bouncing curiously. The predator stiffened slightly but did not move forward. Its ears swiveled, picking up every sound, every movement, every shift in air pressure. Lyra remained calm, her breathing slow and controlled. "Easy," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. The cubs sniffed the predator's scent through the glass, unaware of the tension above. The predator's growl softened into a low rumble, its massive chest vibrating as it exhaled slowly. The predator took a step back, then another, tilting its head. It had been unleashed in fury, ready to strike at anything in its path. But the sight of its offspring, safe with a human, stopped it cold. The instinct to attack clashed with the instinct to protect, creating an internal battle that froze it in place. Lyra sensed the balance shifting. The predator's behavior was a window into its mind, and she knew that patience and understanding could tip the scales. She extended her hand slightly, palm open, signaling calm and trust. The predator's eyes narrowed, studying her, searching for any hint of threat. Its tail flicked slowly, a measure of agitation but not hostility. The cubs continued to play, some tumbling over each other, their laughter ringing out. The predator's glowing gaze followed them, and then, slowly, it exhaled a long, slow breath. The growl faded into a soft rumble, more a sign of acknowledgement than warning. Lyra's calm presence was working. She spoke softly, her voice low and even. "I see them. I won't harm them. I'm here to keep them safe like you would." The predator blinked slowly, a subtle acknowledgement. Its body shifted slightly, allowing a small opening of trust. It had not approached yet, but it no longer seemed intent on violence. The creature's intelligence was clear. Its choice to remain cautious rather than attack showed reasoning beyond pure instinct. Around the arena, cadets whispered to one another, amazed at the scene. This was not a display of fear or domination. This was human patience meeting alien instinct, and it was working. The predator's posture softened incrementally, muscles relaxing as it continued to study Lyra and the cubs. Every movement, every small sound, every breath seemed to be a negotiation, an unspoken dialogue between species. Lyra slowly took a step backward, signaling to the predator that she would not advance further. The predator's gaze followed her, then returned to its young. Its amber eyes reflected both relief and lingering caution. It had been ready to wreak havoc, but now, confronted with the safety and care of its offspring, it hesitated. Lyra understood. Trust would need to be earned, but the first step had been taken. Finally, after several tense moments, the predator crouched low at the window, observing quietly. Its tail twitched but no longer lashed. Its growl was gone, replaced by a slow, almost thoughtful rumble. Lyra kept her distance, allowing it to decide its next move. The cubs played freely, unaware of the magnitude of the moment. The predator had paused, halted by the unexpected sight of its young safe with a human. The academy was silent, save for the soft sounds of the cubs' laughter and the predator's rumble. Lyra's calm, measured actions had stopped the apex predator in its tracks. What began as an escape filled with chaos had transformed into a moment of potential understanding. The predator had been confronted not with force, but with patience, respect, and the gentle guidance of a human who refused to panic. And in that tense, frozen moment, the Academy realized something remarkable. Sometimes fear and power alone could not command obedience, but calm, empathy, and respect could. The predator had discovered something unexpected, and so had the humans watching. A human could earn trust where aggression would fail, and even the most fearsome creature might pause when confronted by understanding rather than violence. The first steps toward a fragile peace had been taken, and the predator remained still, its glowing eyes fixed on the young ones, while Lyra watched silently, prepared for whatever would come next. The predator crouched at the observation window, massive body coiled with restrained energy. Its glowing amber eyes never left its young, who tumbled over one another in the training arena below. Lyra stayed perfectly still, kneeling near the cubs, hands raised slightly in calm gestures. The academy was tense and silent, every cadet frozen in place, watching the standoff unfold. The predator growled low in its throat, a vibration that echoed through the walls. It was a warning, a signal of strength and authority, but it did not advance. Lyra understood the message. The creature was assessing her. It wanted to know if she posed a threat, and if it could trust her to leave its young unharmed. She remained calm, letting the predator see that she meant no harm, but also making no sudden movements that could trigger its instincts. Slowly the predator shifted, muscles rippling beneath its scaled skin. It took a tentative step back from the window, then another, adjusting its position. Its gaze remained locked on Lyra, measuring her reaction. The human's calm presence seemed to have an effect. The growl softened to a low rumble, almost contemplative. Lyra spoke softly, barely above a whisper. "I won't hurt them. I'm here to protect them just like you would." The predator tilted its head, nostrils flaring as it sniffed the air. It detected the subtle vibrations of Lyra's calm breathing and the steady pulse of the cubs playing. Its instincts told it to strike, to assert dominance over the human, yet something about Lyra's stillness gave it pause. She was not afraid, and her movements were deliberate and respectful. For the first time since it had escaped, the predator hesitated, not out of weakness but out of calculation. Lyra took a small step backward, deliberately showing that she would not approach further. The predator's eyes narrowed, studying her every movement. Its tail lashed lightly behind it, a measure of its agitation, but it did not charge. The standoff was a silent negotiation, the predator asserting its authority, and the human asserting her calm and respect. Around them, cadets held their breath, watching in awe. They had never witnessed anything like this. An apex predator held at bay not by weapons but by understanding. The cubs, unaware of the tension, continued to play. One rolled over near Lyra, who let it be, careful not to make sudden gestures. The predator's gaze softened slightly as it watched, yet its muscles remained taut, ready to act if necessary. It was learning to evaluate the situation, balancing its instinct to protect with the realization that the human posed no immediate threat. Lyra moved slowly, crouching slightly lower to the ground. She spoke softly again, keeping her voice calm and even. "They're safe. I won't let anything happen to them." The predator's amber eyes flicked between her and the cubs. The growl diminished further, becoming a soft vibration in its chest. Its body relaxed slightly, though every movement was still careful and deliberate. The predator made a small, cautious step away from the window, tilting its massive head to observe from a new angle. Lyra mirrored its movements subtly, ensuring that her body language remained non-threatening. She was aware that the predator was testing her, probing for fear or aggression. She had none, only patience and observation. The predator seemed to sense this, and it allowed her to maintain her position without reacting violently. From across the arena, cadets whispered to each other. "It's not attacking," one said, eyes wide. "It's like it's watching her." Another nodded. "She's not afraid. That's why it's hesitating." The predator's hesitation was remarkable. No weapon, no force had stopped it before. But the human's calm, deliberate presence had created a pause, a standoff where both species assessed each other. The predator crouched lower, muscles tensing and relaxing in slow waves. It growled softly, then stopped, sniffing the air. Its amber eyes never left Lyra or the cubs. Lyra remained still, focusing entirely on the predator's subtle signals. She understood the creature's body language. Every twitch of the tail, every flare of the nostrils, every shift in stance was communication. She responded with quiet patience, showing that she could meet its gaze without challenge or fear. Minutes passed like hours. The standoff was a silent battle of wills, neither side moving aggressively, yet both fully aware of the other. The predator was testing the human's resolve, the human was demonstrating patience and understanding. Finally, the growl ceased completely, replaced by a low, steady rumble that vibrated through the floor. The predator's tail stopped lashing, and its massive frame lowered slightly, still tense but no longer threatening. Lyra's soft voice broke the silence. "You can trust me. I'm not here to harm you or your young." The predator blinked slowly, considering her words, or perhaps the intention behind them. Its amber eyes softened, a subtle shift in expression that conveyed recognition and understanding. It had learned something about this species. Humans could approach danger without aggression, and sometimes that was more powerful than any weapon. The cubs continued to play, unaware of the negotiation happening just above them. Lyra remained calm, watching the predator carefully. Its body language slowly changed, muscles relaxing incrementally, but its attention remained fixed on her and the young. The standoff was nearing its end. The predator had learned that the human posed no threat, and the human had learned how to communicate with a creature far stronger and more fearsome than herself. Finally, the predator shifted fully, lowering itself to a semi-resting position at the window. Its growl was gone. The amber eyes still glowed, but there was no longer any immediate threat. Lyra's calm presence, her patience and her respect had turned a moment of fear into a moment of understanding. Around the arena, the cadets and staff exhaled quietly, amazed at what had just occurred. The standoff was over, but the story was far from finished. The predator remained alert, its instincts still sharp, but it had paused, frozen by something unexpected, the calm, unwavering presence of a human who understood it. Lyra knew that the next step would be building trust, not just observing. But for now, the standoff had proven something extraordinary. Humans could meet even the most dangerous beings without fear, and sometimes, that was enough to change everything. The predator's massive frame remained still at the observation window, its amber eyes locked on the human and the cubs below. The tension in the arena had eased slightly, but the air was still thick with anticipation. Every cadet and staff member watched silently, knowing that what happened next could define the entire situation. Lyra stayed calm, her movements deliberate and measured, knowing that the predator was weighing its options, searching for a reason to trust, or to strike. The cubs continued to play, oblivious to the standoff. One of them tumbled over near Lyra's feet, and she knelt slightly lower, extending a hand in a gentle gesture of reassurance. The predator's gaze flicked toward the movement. It stiffened briefly, claws scraping the floor, and a low rumble vibrated from deep in its chest. Its instincts screamed caution, warning that any misstep could provoke danger. But something in the human's presence and behavior made it hesitate. Lyra's heart beat steadily. She spoke softly, her words calm and even, more for the predator than the cubs. "I'm not here to harm you or your young. I only want them safe. I will protect them as you would." The predator tilted its head, nostrils flaring as it absorbed the information, or perhaps the intent behind the words. Its eyes scanned every movement, every gesture, searching for signs of threat. The predator's body remained tense, but the growl in its throat had softened to a low, uncertain vibration. For the first time since its escape, the predator seemed to consider a different course of action. Its claws scratched lightly against the floor, then paused. Its tail flicked slowly, almost thoughtfully, rather than with the lashing of aggression. Lyra remained still, breathing slowly, signaling that she would not take another step toward the creature. She understood the predator's internal struggle, the choice between aggression and trust, between fear and instinct. The cubs approached her, nudging her hands and playfully swiping at her sleeves. The predator's eyes followed every movement, but it did not advance. Its body language was a mixture of caution and curiosity. It lowered its massive head slightly, nostrils twitching as it studied the human. Lyra's soft voice continued, a whisper among the silence of the academy. "You can trust me. I won't hurt them. I'm here to help." A subtle shift occurred in the predator's posture. Its tail stopped lashing entirely, curling gently behind it. The growl faded into a slow, almost contemplative rumble. The creature's amber eyes remained alert, but the tension that had filled the air lessened. Lyra could sense that the predator was thinking, weighing the evidence it had observed. The human's calmness, the lack of sudden movements, the steady attention on its young. It was learning and learning quickly. The predator took a cautious step back from the window, lowering its massive shoulders slightly. It was a silent signal, a small but deliberate movement that indicated a willingness to observe without immediate aggression. Lyra remained still, meeting its gaze without challenge. Her calm presence acted as a bridge, a way to communicate without words. The predator's instincts were powerful, but this human had shown patience and understanding beyond anything it had encountered. Minutes passed as the predator continued to assess. Its eyes flicked between the cubs and Lyra repeatedly. Each observation seemed to shift its internal calculations. It had the power to dominate, to strike without hesitation, yet it hesitated. The predator's choice was clear. It was beginning to trust, though cautiously. Trust was foreign to it, something it had never given freely, yet the human had earned the first signs of it. Lyra allowed herself a small exhale. She did not move closer, she remained still, allowing the predator to set the pace. The cubs played around her, safe and carefree, while the predator observed from above. Its head lowered slightly, nostrils twitching as it took in the human's scent and the presence of its young. The growl had vanished completely, replaced by a steady, low rumble that spoke more of consideration than of threat. The cadets and staff who watched the scene held their breath. No one dared to interfere. The predator had made the first subtle gestures toward trust, and the human had responded with patience and calm. It was a delicate balance, a moment of choice that could define their relationship. Lyra understood that forcing the predator would only push it back toward aggression. She simply stayed, demonstrating that she could be trusted without pressing the matter further. Slowly the predator shifted fully, moving back from the window entirely. Its massive shoulders relaxed, and its glowing eyes softened. Lyra continued to speak softly, her words calm and deliberate, reinforcing her intentions. "You can leave your cubs with me. I will protect them like you would. They are safe here." The predator paused, then lowered itself slightly, a movement that could only be described as careful acceptance. The first choice had been made, the predator had begun to trust. It had been freed from the immediate urge to strike, replacing fear with cautious observation. Lyra's calm, patient approach had allowed the predator to consider a new possibility, one where the human could be an ally rather than a threat. Around them, the academy remained silent, the air charged with anticipation. Finally, the predator's massive head lowered fully, eyes fixed on the human and its young. The rumble in its chest was steady and even, a subtle sign of acknowledgement. Lyra knew that the moment of trust was fragile but real. The predator had made its choice, deciding to observe and accept the human's presence rather than attack. She had proven, through patience, calm and understanding, that humans could earn the trust of even the most fearsome beings. The standoff had evolved into a tentative alliance. The predator's instincts remained sharp, but they were tempered by the realization that trust could be given, and received. Lyra kept her voice calm and her movements deliberate, ensuring that the fragile bond would hold. The predator's choice to trust marked the beginning of a new relationship, one that promised safety for its young and understanding between species. For the first time since the escape, a sense of calm settled over the arena. The predator, still massive and powerful, had paused, choosing observation over aggression. Lyra remained kneeling among the cubs, patient and steady. The choice to trust had been made, and the first step toward connection between human and predator had begun. The Academy witnessed something extraordinary, the power of calm, patience and understanding to transform fear into trust. The predator remained crouched at the observation window, massive body tense yet noticeably calmer than before. Its amber eyes followed every movement of the cubs below, who tumbled and laughed in innocent play around Lyra. The Academy, once a scene of chaos and panic, was now filled with a tense anticipation, as if everyone present understood that a fragile moment of understanding had arrived. Lyra stayed kneeling, hands open and calm, exuding patience and presence. The predator's tail flicked gently, a rhythm that suggested curiosity rather than aggression. Its low, steady rumble vibrated through the floor, a sound that seemed to acknowledge the human's intentions. The cubs, unaware of the tension that had gripped the arena moments earlier, continued to chase one another and tumble over Lyra's feet. One small cub pressed against her knee, sniffing her calmly. Lyra smiled softly and remained still, letting the predator observe. Minutes passed in silence, each one waited with anticipation. The predator, though still imposing and powerful, had begun to relax. Its massive shoulders lowered slightly, claws scraping softly against the floor instead of digging into it. Lyra understood that the creature was processing what it had witnessed. A human who had remained calm, patient, and unafraid in the face of its immense power. This was a species unlike any it had encountered, one that could earn trust without threat. Finally, the predator made the first deliberate move of trust. It stepped closer to the window, still at a distance, and tilted its head to watch Lyra and the cubs more closely. The rumble in its chest had softened further, and its eyes, still glowing amber, carried a subtle warmth. The apex predator, feared throughout the Academy for its size and strength, had chosen observation over aggression. It was a remarkable gesture, a silent acknowledgement of the human's presence and intentions. Lyra spoke softly, her voice calm and steady. "I will protect them. Just like you would. They are safe here." The predator's gaze fixed on her, and for a long moment, nothing moved. Then, as if weighing the offer, it lowered its head slightly, a gesture that conveyed cautious acceptance. Lyra's heart raced, not with fear, but with the profound realization that the first step toward a bond had been taken. The cubs, sensing the predator's change in demeanor, grew bolder in their play. One leaped onto Lyra's back playfully, and another nudged her hand. The predator watched silently, amber eyes reflecting both curiosity and protective instinct. Its tail flicked slowly in rhythm with its soft rumble. There was no aggression, only a measured interest. It had stopped seeing the human as a threat, and instead something new began to take shape: trust. From across the arena, cadets whispered to one another, awe in their voices. It's not attacking," one said. "It's watching, almost like it's learning." Another nodded. "She earned it." She stayed calm when everyone else panicked. The predator's choice to remain still, to observe rather than strike, was proof that humans could connect with creatures even the most fearsome. It was a lesson in patience, understanding, and respect. The predator slowly moved a step closer, still maintaining a safe distance from the cubs and Lyra. It lowered itself slightly, resting on its massive forelimbs while keeping its body coiled with readiness. Its eyes, however, showed a subtle shift, a flicker of acknowledgement, a recognition that this human had earned a place in its awareness. Lyra remained still, allowing the predator to decide the pace, her calmness a bridge across species. Minutes turned into what felt like hours, but eventually the predator took a decisive step. It crouched fully, lowering its massive head to the floor, and exhaled a long, slow breath. The rumble from its chest was steady and even, no longer a warning but a signal of acceptance. Lyra smiled softly, understanding that the apex predator had made its choice: to trust, to acknowledge her presence, and to allow the cub's play to continue unharmed. The bond that formed in that moment was silent but undeniable. The predator remained powerful and imposing, yet it had recognized the human's patience and care. The cubs continued to play, sometimes brushing against its massive limbs, and it did not react with aggression. Lyra, kneeling among the young ones, spoke quietly, "You are safe with me. Just like with them." The predator's amber eyes met hers, and for the first time, there was a shared understanding between species. Around the arena, the staff and cadets exhaled quietly, relieved and amazed. The predator had been unleashed in fury, capable of destruction, yet it had paused, halted by a human who remained calm, patient, and respectful. What began as fear and chaos had transformed into a moment of connection and trust. The predator had made the choice to observe, to accept, and to begin a new bond. Finally, the predator lowered itself completely to the ground, body relaxed but alert, eyes still following the cubs. Lyra stayed calm, continuing to speak softly, reinforcing the fragile trust. The cubs moved freely around them, safe and unaware of the magnitude of the moment. The predator's decision to trust marked the beginning of a new understanding, a bond that bridged species, instinct, and fear. The Academy had witnessed something extraordinary. A human had faced an apex predator without weapons or aggression, using only calm, patience, and empathy. In return, the predator had made a choice that changed everything. The bond that formed that day was delicate but real, a promise of safety for the cubs and a new respect between species. As the predator lay near the window, amber eyes tracking Lyra and the cubs, it became clear that a new chapter had begun. The human had earned its acknowledgement, and the predator, once a creature of fear and chaos, had discovered a new understanding. The first steps toward trust had been taken, and a bond, unspoken yet powerful, now connected them across the gap of instinct and species. Lyra remained still among the cubs, breathing slowly, her eyes meeting the predator's gaze. In that shared silence, a new bond had been forged, one that promised respect, understanding, and the beginning of a partnership that neither species could have imagined before. The predator had chosen trust, and the human had honored it, creating a story that would be remembered in the Academy for years to come.